The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And A.J. Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right. Welcome back to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name's Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me tonight, as usual, AJ Applegarth. What's going on, man?
Not too much. Same old. Just recovering from the holiday weekend, and thankfully only one more day of the work week.
Indeed, man. Recovering, I am. I was in Nashville the end of last week. That's why we did the show on Wednesday. That was a wild, not wild. I mean, I don't go crazy anymore, but it was a good long weekend for somebody who's getting a little older and can't quite do what I used to do, right? But it was fun. No kids, so me and the wife, got a little crazier than we usually do. The best part about it was the Eric Church concert that was the whole reason why we did the trip in the first place. Like, that was kind of the big reason why we went. Dude, he went 4 hours. I've never seen one guy go 4 hours. That was insane. He literally got off stage, so he did like an initial set of like an hour and change, and then he took like a 20-minute intermission, did another set of hour and change, came back, did that, went off stage, like most people do. They go off stage, you wait for the encore to come, waiting to come out, do the encore. He comes back out like 20 seconds later. He goes, I didn't realize it was 12:15. Fuck it, we're going anyway. And just kept playing music. And we were all like, okay. He played like 4 more songs. We didn't leave the stadium until after 12:30. That was a nuts show, man. I've never seen anything crazier. It was so good, though. Apparently, he broke a record at the stadium, at that Nashville stadium, the Titans Stadium, for most people at a stadium. Broke Taylor Swift's record, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, just a wild, very good concert.
Yeah, suck a T-Swizzle.
Yeah, right. And then, I don't know what was better, the Eric Church concert or the fact that, like, when I was about to board the airplane Sunday night, I looked down at the fantasy scores, which I barely was paying attention to all weekend. And, of course, I'm playing you in the Fantasy Six-Pack Baseball League. And I realized my team hit 31 home runs. Felt pretty good.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, no, it definitely did, man.
Not.
That was pretty awesome. Of course, my team fell asleep this week. I have 4 home runs as of tonight still.
Yeah. It was definitely brutal. It was kind of a close matchup earlier in the week, and I had a chance to either lose by 1 or possibly even tie at one point, and then there was just this explosion towards the end of the week, and I was like, whatever. All right, I'm done. So licked my wounds and fell off into the corner where it should have been, and but now I'm winning 10-0, or at least I was earlier today. So
nice.
It was a nice rebound.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm actually losing this week because my team just kind of.
Yeah, you were. I think you were down either 2-5-3 or 3-5-2 when I looked at it earlier. I don't know.
Yeah, I looked at it this morning. I was definitely down 3-5-2 or something like that. But I'm hoping it'll bounce back. We'll see what happens. Anyway, man, let's get to my favorite part of the show.
Beer.
Our beer of the week. I'll let you lead off, man. What you got?
All right, so I decided to go ahead and hit up the store. It's been a while. I've been kind of living off of my Beer of the Month Club drinks and decided to check out my place. And I got myself a fine little doozy of a drink right here. We will call it this one right here. It is
this one.
the 6 Point Brewery. It is their DDH High Res. It's a triple IPA, not one,
Ooh.
not two, but three.
You are going hard
IPAs
tonight. All
yeah,
right.
baby. That's right. It is 11.1%.
Ooh. You're just getting
And here's my first sip. So cheers to the show. I hope it goes well. I probably won't remember.
And it all goes downhill from here, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Tasty.
So
Tasty indeed.
I've been hitting up the Brookeville beer farm stuff because, like I said, the Safeway by me is running out of new stuff for some reason. But I'm hitting up a Route 97 New England Double IPA, 8%. It's another hazy. They seem to like their hazy IPAs, so they do a lot of New England type IPAs, and they're all kind of hazy, juicy, kind of. This one has mango, pineapple, and tropical fruits. I'll be honest, they all kind of taste the same, but they're all good though. So I can't complain. 3 3/4 on Untapped for me. It's a solid one. I'd go back to it. So. All right, so tonight's show, we're going to talk about a player who's been injured a bunch over the last couple of years and got injured again this past week. Going to get into some home run hitters, see what's going on with them, and then our injuries, bullpen update, and waiver ads. So to start, we've got Carlos Correa, man, back on the DL, 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured rib. I mean, I don't really look. I didn't target this guy in any drafts this year. Not because I thought he'd get injured again. I mean, I actually thought he was a fairly decent value. I think because, his past very, especially his rookie year, he had a very good rookie year, a fairly successful year after that. And then last year was sort of downhill, but, so you thought with the ADP he had this year, he was like the 7th or 8th, shortstop off the board. You thought, that's massive value if he can get close to his 2017 numbers, right? Now, if he were to return his 2018 numbers, then he's right there. But obviously his ADP was down this past year because of the injury history. He's missed, almost 60 games, 50 to 60 games in the 2 previous seasons. But, and this year, he started off better than I thought he was. For some reason, I just thought he wasn't. I don't know what I had in my head. And Keith, our producer, who put a lot of the notes together for us again, he was even kind of shocked when he looked up the stats. We both kind of went like, oh, he's having a much better year than I thought. And, we're looking at 11 home runs already, 35 RBI, 26 runs, only a single stolen base, but he's not a big stolen base guy anyway. His average is hovering real close to 300. Walk rate is down. K rate is down. A lot of numbers are looking very favorable. So it's one of those I don't know what to do with this guy anymore though. So first off, AJ, before we get into what do we do with him? Who are some guys that you can think of that are immediate replacements for a guy like this?
Well, the first guy that we have listed on the sheet here, I really like a lot. I actually just picked him up today for the second time, and that's David Fletcher, the Angels. His ownership is already up 17% in the last 24 hours, or his ownership is up 17% in the last 24 hours. It's now at 35% owned, according to Yahoo. I mean, he's got 315 average, 367 OBP. He's got multiple eligibility too. Obviously, if you're going for a replacement for Correa, you're plugging him in at shortstop or possibly middle infield or even utility. But he's got flexibility there, and he's just been mashing lately too. So he's a guy that I really like. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. of the Blue Jays. His ownership is up 29% in the last 24 hours. He's now at 41% owned. He's homered in 4 of 6 games since returning from AAA, and he's got 10 hits in his 23 at-bats there. He's a guy I kind of dabbled with a little bit last year in my dynasty league that I'm no longer a part of, but he's come up and he's shown that he can play again. So I feel like he's a little more streaky, so you might want to just jump on him now while he's hot and then see what happens. If he tails off, he's a guy that you can plug and play and drop and go after someone else. Next guy we got listed here is Nick Ahmed from the Diamondbacks. He's only 9% owned, but he's got a 427 WOBA, 455 OBP, all in the last 14 days. I mean, that's hard. That's hard to bypass those stats. And then the last guy that we have here that we're highlighting is Addison Russell. Only 6% owned. Just returned from his suspension earlier this month. He's hitting 275. It's more of maybe a deeper league option, but don't sleep on Russell just because he had that suspension and issues. I mean, it sounds like he's going to be right back, and the Cubs have been playing good ball lately, so they're a team that you want to look at.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like, out of all of those guys that you mentioned, Russell's probably my favorite as far as talent. The problem is it's the Cubs, and they like to tinker with their lineup a lot, especially with the guys that aren't locked into a spot all the time. Not the Chris Bryants, not the Rizzo, not Baez. Those guys. They move a lot of people around, so he doesn't play every day. But look, I mean, if he's hitting like this, it's not going to matter if he takes a day or two off every week, especially in deeper leagues. After that, I think I just go right now. I'd probably go safer with Fletcher. He's rolling right now. I don't know how much you can really trust it to stay. Keep it going. But if you get a couple weeks of him like this, and Correa's only out 4 to, if he's out only 4 weeks, and you can get a couple weeks out of Fletcher, then that's golden. And then just find the next guy, right? But those are the two guys that I would look at. Big time right there. We got another guy that we'll mention later in the waiver wire section who I think probably trumps all of these guys. But those are the two right now that I would target. So back to Correa's value. So I think this year in a redraft league, you're probably holding. You're just you're just going to sit tight, especially if you have an IL spot or two on your team. What about next year? So let's keep it on redraft, right? Next year, his ADP, what how do I want to say this? So last year, right, his ADP was, or this year, sorry, his ADP was around 41 to 44, 41 ADP, 44th ranked by the expert consensus ranking on Fantasy Pros, 7th and 8th shortstop overall, to go right along with those. Right around the Anthony Rendon, Chris Davis, Bellinger, Rhys Hoskin range, right? Which sounds ridiculous when you think about what Bellinger is doing right now. But anyway, next year, though, in a redraft league, knowing now this is 3 years in a row, he's going to miss a significant amount of time. where are you comfortable drafting a Carlos Correa, knowing the start he had this year, which was very good?
He's definitely dropping down my list overall, and I don't know if I'll end up owning him. I feel like he could be next year's Corey Seager. He's got the talent. You know what he can put up when he's healthy, but it's just a matter of, is he going to be healthy again? I mean, like you said, this is now multiple years in a row where he's missing a huge chunk of time.
Right.
And for a fantasy team, that does not help you. When you have guys that are on the IL for 10 days or even 15, what it used to be, okay, you can deal with that. But you get these major injuries, and it's just a huge blow to your team. You're plugging and playing all year long unless you can pull off a trade or unless you just happen to have good depth at whatever position it is. But yeah, I don't think I'll own him next year, to be honest. I just think he's just going to drop. He's going to drop down enough. I would see him as maybe 10th, 11th shortstop. I mean, I feel like that's not a huge drop, but the overall drop to me is what's really going to hit.
Yeah, so like it's interesting. Keith and I were talking today, and of course he always likes to make fun of me with Tim Anderson, but seriously though, like Tim Anderson's having a great start to the year, right? Would you pick somebody like a Tim Anderson over him? Keith, I forget who else you mentioned. You can chime in if you want to give me that other name. Going back through our talk, but there's a lot.
It was Mondesi.
Mondesi.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously Mondesi. I think that's a no-brainer at this point. But Tim Anderson, it's a good one. Like Tim Anderson's around that 10, 11, 12 range of shortstops, I feel like, typically in drafts. And would you slip Correa down below somebody like that this next coming year?
I mean, possibly. I kind of want to see what Anderson does the rest of this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what he is and what he's done. He's kind of the same player all the time, where he starts off really well, but then he kind of hits that wall. So if he can get over that hump and like play a legit full season of fantasy baseball, I might take a stab at him and go after him earlier than Correa. That's a tough name though. Like I think that's right at my line.
Yeah.
Because I'm a creature of habit and I go after name power. So Correa it's a sexy name that you want to go after. But man, that's a good call.
Yeah, I think for me with Tim Anderson, it'll be, let's see how well he hits the rest of the year. I think power and steals are going to pretty much be okay, right?
Yeah.
I think if you can get 140 games out of Correa, I think you can expect more power. Obviously, Tim Anderson is going to steal more bases. I think what could tip it either way, depending on how Tim Anderson finishes, is the batting average. If Tim Anderson can prove to people that he can actually hit for a 280, 275 average, then you're probably taking Tim Anderson because those steals are good and the drop in batting average, because you're kind of expecting 300 or maybe even slightly above 300 from Correa, doesn't outweigh the 20-25 steals you're getting from Tim Anderson at that point. If Tim Anderson's hitting 275 plus. But if Tim Anderson drops back down to like 250, 245, then I might look back at Correa. Depending on how my roster fills out, obviously, there's a lot to play here. Could get into this forever. But
yeah, I mean, you got to look at your league setup, obviously. And if you're a league that goes after categories and average is going to be something that could hurt you, as long as you can make it up somewhere else. But let's take a step back too. I think the bigger question here is, will Tim Anderson at some point be getting a massage at home that we have to worry about this type of injury happening to him next year? I mean, that's going to be the big kicker.
Okay.
I mean, let's just put it on the massage table, okay?
I don't know, man. It could happen to anybody, I suppose. Just like, all these
How do you fracture ribs getting a massage? I mean, what are you, a sumo wrestler massaging your back? Get deep, man. Get real deep. Get that elbow into it.
I mean, really intense massage. I'll tell you.
It had to have been. I don't know. Whatever.
I'm not gonna go there. Like you said before the show, it's a family show, right? Cheers.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Drink up, Carlos.
So, all right, let's switch gears to Dynasty. In Dynasty, obviously, this is where getting rid of him now is in play. Do you sell, in my opinion, you would be selling low on him right now. Do you sell low on him right now just to cut bait? Like, I'm tired of missing 40, 50 games plus of him every season. And trying to find a shortstop replacement later. Like, say you don't have a good one. Obviously, if you have a good one ready just to fill his place, no-brainer. I think you can get rid of him. If you don't have, like, a really good option, you're going to be kind of searching all season for somebody off the waiver wire if there happens to be one, or trying to trade for another one, or trying to pick up a prospect, or anything. Are you ready to cut bait with him?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I am too.
No question.
Yeah, I'd be tired of him real quick at this point. So.
I mean, obviously, you always want to try to sell value or slightly under, but I just don't know if you're going to get true, pennies on the dollar for him at this point, unless there's just someone in your league that's a believer. Let him have it.
Yeah, I think who you could potentially trade him to in a dynasty league is somebody who is a contender this year and can handle giving up somebody decent, but also needs a shortstop.
Yeah.
And then, let them deal with, having depth and, trying to get rid of him later. I don't know. It's but yeah, I agree with you. I'd be looking to dump him too. It's in dynasty leagues. I'd just be looking to cut bait and be gone. So, all right. So next up, we wanted to talk about some of these. I thought about this topic yesterday after Derek Dietrich hit three freaking home runs, and I looked at his stats. I was like, oh my god, I did not realize he had that many home runs. Like, because I just don't pay attention to Derek Dietrich, probably for good reason. But talk about some of these surprise power hitters, surprise power stroke hitters, and I'm going to play my favorite home run call here from Joe Angel.
Fly ball, left field, right back there, right back there, way back there, right there, bye.
Yeah, I miss hearing that a lot, but anyway, so we'll start. We've got a list of 5 players here who are different degrees. They all have different home run totals, but they are all surprising in their own right. We'll start at the top with the most home runs, and this is Josh Bell. He has 18 on the season already. It is very shocking to me that he has this many home runs already. Look, we know he has power, but to have 18 already it is pretty nuts in my opinion. His home run to fly ball ratio here, I'm trying to pull it up. I'm losing track of all the windows I have open here.
33%.
Home run to fly ball ratio is 33%. And yet he only has a fly ball percentage of 34%. So, like, basically almost every fly ball he's hitting is going out. Like, that's a ton.
It's impressive.
And so the question I want to ask you for every single one of these guys is, do you think this kind of pace is sustainable? And we'll let you answer.
No, I don't. I mean, Josh Bell was pretty touted as a prospect. He's finally coming into his own, obviously, but 18 homers and 232 plate appearances. I mean, he's still only got a 10% walk rate. So
that's pretty good, actually.
I know. That's what I mean. It's a good walk rate that he's got the patience there too.
I mean,
so I just don't know if I'm believing in him yet. I think it's just an early season surge, and he could very well tail off and hit 2 homers throughout June.
Yeah, I mean,
and then he's going to be kind of on pace, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bell is one of the more real deals on this list that we have. But I agree with you. I don't think he's going to keep on this pace, but I don't think he's going to keep this pace.
I also don't think he's only going to hit 2 homers in June.
Yeah.
Let's just get that cleared up.
I think he's easily going to top 30 home runs on the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at some of this, like his hard hit rate is 50%. That's just insane. He's hitting a home run every, let's just call it 13 plate appearances. That's a pretty good number. Although we have guys that are doing better.
Yeah.
So it's
I
pretty
think
shocking.
That could rise up around 15, 16 plate appearances. I feel like, because then even at that, he's still hitting a homer every 4 games.
Right. I mean, that's pretty solid.
That's still a pretty good pace.
Yeah. I kick myself. Like, I got asked to do, Fantasy Pros every now and then does these things where they're like, they ask writers from different sites to chime in on questions that they have. And one of them was, who's your bust, or I forget exactly what it was, like who you're trying to avoid. And I wrote Josh Bell because this was during the spring when he was having a miserable spring. Kang was coming up. Colin Moran was still around. And it was, Kang's going to take over third base. Colin Moran's having a good spring. Bell wasn't, so they're going to put Moran over at first and timeshare with Bell. All that news had come out like literally a day before I wrote this article, and I was like, I'm not touching Bell at all. And then he goes off and does this, and it's like, whoops. I mean, whatever. We don't get them all right, but it's I don't think, obviously nobody saw this coming from him, but I think his highest total was like 25 or 26 or something like that a couple of years ago. Last year he was bad. But I think the strikeouts will probably raise because I think that's a low number for him. But I think he's probably one of the more real deals on this list than anybody. He came in as a very, very good prospect a couple years ago. And so I wouldn't discount him.
Well, let's get to these other guys on this list then. Let's throw the names out there and then let's talk about them. So we got Derek Dietrich, we've got Daniel Vogelbach, we've got Tommy LaStella, and we've got Max Kepler rounding out our 5 here. So Dietrich is I don't even know. I don't even know where to begin with this guy.
I don't have any idea where.
He's got multi-positional eligibility again, so that's cool. But dude, the guy's mashing right now. Absolutely mashing.
It doesn't make any sense.
He's got 17 homers in only 144 plate appearances.
Dude, there's no way this sustains. I'm gonna read you this wasn't on our sheet, because I don't think it is. No, it's not. His isolated power number, his average for his career is 185. His isolated power this season alone, 451. No, this is not going to happen. If you're talking about a sell high candidate, this is like prime sell high candidate. Like, go get rid of him right now. I don't care what you think. Get rid of him. This is nuts, man. There's no chance he keeps this up. Fly ball ratio, like everything is just skyrocket high for him. Home run to fly ball ratio 35%. It's been down in the below the teens for his career is 13, but of course that includes this year.
Yeah.
He's usually in like 10-12 range. I mean, look, we all think the ball is juiced, but no way.
I mean, his numbers are just absurd right now. But I mean, that's the thing. You say go ahead and sell high. Is anyone really believing in him though?
Dude,
I mean, hell, Miami didn't believe in him, just like they didn't believe in all of the pitchers we talked about a couple weeks ago that they got rid of. They didn't want to pay this guy $2 million. $2 million was what he was worth or not worth to them. And they could have had, I don't know, 6 more wins possibly because of him. I don't know what his WAR is. It's not on our chart here, but still, I mean, that's the point though. Like, I don't know if you can try to sell him high. You just got to find that sucker in your league that's like, oh, sweet, home runs, cool, I'll take it.
Well, look, I mean, I think in leagues that you and I typically play in, especially the Fantasy Six Pack League, like I'm in other leagues, like nobody's biting on that. Everybody knows, right? But I guarantee you, there are leagues out there that just like, oh my God, this guy's crazy, he's awesome, and they don't look at history, they don't look at these things. Hopefully they're listening to shows like ours or somebody else's or reading things around the internet. There's probably tons of articles out there telling you sell high, get rid of this guy. It's not for real.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't. They just look at the stats in front of you. You're in leagues. I guarantee you're in leagues like that. I know you are.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me some of these like trade dialogues back and forth with some of your buddies that you're in. And they're like, oh, but this guy has 50 more points than this guy. You're like, it's week 3. Okay, who cares?
Stop.
Okay,
it's so
Travis
ridiculous.
Kelce. I saw that.
That's right.
All right, let's move on to your favorite player here, and Daniel Vogelbach.
Joe.
Yeah, right.
He's killing the ball. I didn't even realize it. I knew that he had a good amount of homers, and then I can't remember. Was it on Slack that we were talking about? I know we were talking about him on Slack, but was it the tweet that came out or something that got me going on him earlier today or yesterday?
It was
today. It was today. No,
it was yesterday. I don't remember now. Maybe I'm drunker than you. I don't know. I forget.
I don't know. Maybe.
Anyway, keep going.
I mean, your tolerance is weaker than mine, so wouldn't be surprising.
Okay.
Take that 31 homers. So yeah, Vogelbach's sitting at 15 homers right now. He's got a 17% walk rate. I mean, his K percentage is still at 22. So he's striking out a decent amount. Not the worst we've seen, obviously.
That's pretty damn good, actually. For a power hitter, like 22%, that ain't bad.
Yeah.
The walk rate's a little inflated, but actually, like, I'm looking at his numbers, and I know a lot of them are minor league stats right now for his career, but that's not an absurd walk rate for him. He was at 12 last year in 37 games in the majors. But if you look at like his minor league stats, 20%, 14%, 21%, 15%, like he walks a lot. Probably a lot of, automatic walks, but whatever.
Well, yeah, it very well could be, and that helps inflate that number a little bit. But I mean, his fly ball rate's 54%. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's so
probably high. Coming down.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that was my big knock, granted it was a small sample size, but compared to last year and this year, the plate appearances were pretty similar. I think it was 37 last year, and then he's at 44 or so. Not plate appearances, I'm sorry. Games played was what I was thinking. So, again, small sample size, but his ground ball to fly ball percentage was at like 0.9, and then this year it's completely flip-flopped to like 0.3 or something. I don't have the conversation
ground ball
in
to
front
fly
of me.
ball ratio was 1.29 last year, and then this year is 0.46 so far. But yeah, I don't think anybody expects him to hit over half of his balls for fly balls. That's really tough to do for anybody. I don't have the stats in front of me, but that seems ridiculous. I'm not totally discounting him though, as far as like, he was touted for so long as being a power hitter. He just came up and he couldn't hit the ball in the air, which was half his problem. And then so he just wasn't hitting as many home runs as you thought, and so they just kept sending him back down, and then that was it. But now he's learned how to hit and it's almost like the other extreme, big time, and it's like, whoa, this is crazy. I think it'll level out a little bit, but I'm kind of buying in a little bit on Vogelbach. Not quite this pace, but I think he's somebody that you can go after, and I think you're gonna be able to rely on all year as a middle tier first baseman type of guy.
Yeah. I mean, definitely someone you could easily want to continue to roster for a backup first baseman or even a corner infielder. So definitely like his upside. Tommy La Stella.
Yeah, we talked about him before. But
I feel like he was kind of touted when he was coming up with the Braves, but he never really amounted to much. And now here he is with 12 homers already this year and in 187 plate appearances.
Yeah, I mean, not a crazy number compared to like Josh Bell or even, like he's not leading the majors and he won't. But the reason why I put him and our next guy, Max Kepler, on here is because I don't think anybody would have thought at this time of the season either one would have 12. And maybe it's just the juice ball or whatever, but it also just seems like it's a little bit of like just an early season hot streak, possibly. We've talked about La Stella before. We mentioned him a couple shows ago as an ad because he was still pretty low owned at that point. It's blown out by that point. He's owned. Out of these two though, Kepler and La Stella, who do you think has the best chance of keeping this pace up as you look at their other stats?
Kepler.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm not overly surprised that Kepler's at 12. I mean, the double digits is kind of surprising, but I would have pegged him for close to 10 at this point. That wouldn't have surprised me one bit. And Minnesota's just on absolute fire right now as it is. So that's very, very helpful when you have that. But, he's the worst of our bunch here at 17.9 plate appearances per homer. That's still damn near 5 every 5 games. So it's the highest on our list, but it's still pretty impressive.
I mean, Kepler's previous high for home runs was 20, and that was last season. So he's been progressively getting better. It was 17, then 19, then 20. Granted, it was more and more and more games every season. But, this year his isolated power is up, about 7, if I can do the math real quick in my head, about 80. It's up 80 points from last year. So that's a pretty big difference. We see the home run to fly ball ratio, not quite double, but close to double from last year. No, actually, no, 9.9 to 16.7. I was doing 9 to 16. I can do math. He's hitting the exact same ground ball to fly ball ratio as he did in the last year. He's just hitting for more power, and maybe he's just kind of taking advantage of this, what everybody thinks is a juiced ball this year, and it's just sort of working for him. But hey.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's also got a 56% pull percentage, so he's pulling the ball more than every other at bat.
And
so
his hard hit percentage has gone up too, so that's obviously helped his home run to fly ball ratio too. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Kepler's more the real deal. I still think I peg him for at most maybe about 25 home runs. But hey, you're taking that. Like, I took him in the fantasy 6-pack league. He was my 5th, maybe my 6th outfielder that I took. And he's been in my lineup like every day. I can't take him out. I've actually been benching guys like Eloy Jimenez because whatever. It's a dynasty league. It's sort of a keeper league, so I'm like I can't drop him yet. But Eloy's been kind of junk. So, but yeah, I mean, I think all these guys, surprise power hitters, you're liking it right now. But I think we all, I think we can agree they're all going to kind of slow down. Just slightly.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Let's go to some injuries, and I'm gonna play our old sound effects here. Our pet my Wookiee sound effect. You like that one? All right, rip through the injuries here. Yeah. So we got Tim Anderson. Now he played last night, but he was dealing with some wrist soreness. I haven't looked to see if it's like updated. He's like totally out of the woods, but I know he missed a good number of games there. David Peralta, AC joint inflammation, unknown time frame for his return right now. Mitch Moreland, first base, Red Sox. He's got lower back pain and knee soreness. They don't have a time frame for him either right now. The big talk here though is that they didn't quite know who was playing first base. So, I heard a lot of things about, go pick up Steve Pearce, go, totally blanking on the other guy's name, but there was a couple guys' names were getting tossed around. Turns out it's Michael Chavez. He's been playing first base. So that's actually pretty huge. You can get Michael Chavez, who was third base eligible. Now he's going to be third and first possibly if he can get enough games in. That's pretty big.
He was second and third eligible. Yeah, he was second and third eligible in either Yahoo or ESPN.
Yeah. Either way, man, he's going to pick up first base. I mean, you're probably still trying to throw him back in like second or third regardless, but, depending on who your first baseman is, but still, you'll take the position eligibility.
Yeah.
Moving on here, Charlie Blackmon. He had a calf injury, no timetable for return. Doesn't seem like it's very severe. I haven't really seen anything where, that they're worried about it's going to be like multiple weeks. They haven't really, but again, they haven't said anything about really what it's going on here. George Springer, this is a big one, man. Grade 2 hamstring. They haven't given a timeline, but I mean, I just think that with hamstrings, especially when you get above those grade 1s, like you're talking multiple weeks, maybe even a month at that point. So that's a pretty rough blow because he was leading the AL in a lot of categories. Keith knows.
Yeah, Springer is a definite big loss. I mean, he's been absolutely destroying this year. But yeah, then you got Mike Trout, fouled a ball off his foot on Tuesday, missed Wednesday, but not sure he'll hit the AL or the IL. Sorry.
Yeah, actually, I meant to update this one right before the show. But
yeah,
I read
he's
something.
Playing tonight, right?
Well, I think they have off tonight. I think they're playing.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, they're gonna play Friday.
They're playing today. Yeah, because I just picked up Fletcher.
Oh.
So I don't know. He may be playing tonight.
Maybe he's taking off tonight, and then he's gonna
picking up Friday.
play Friday. I'm gonna look at the box score here while you keep talking.
All right. Next we got Robbie Cano dealing with a
Trout's
quad.
in. Sorry.
What's that?
Trout's in. Just kidding. It was tonight. For some reason, I read it was Friday. I don't know why I read that.
Okay. Well, he fouled a ball off his foot Tuesday, and he's already back. So there you go. Robbie Cano has a quad injury. No timetable right now for his return, but he was running a little bit on Monday, so that's a good sign. Hopefully he'll be back in lineup sooner rather than later. Jeff McNeil is dealing with a hamstring injury. He's about 70% healthy already, so you can probably expect him back in early June. Chris Davis is still dealing with this hip injury. He missed a couple of games earlier this season, and they put him on the IL, so he's also hopeful to come back early June. And Joey Gallo is dealing with a wrist injury that's holding him out of lineup, or held him out yesterday. They claimed it was a planned day of rest, but I don't know. Take that for what you will, and then see what happens with him.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I just happened to look up the White Sox box score and noticed that now, granted, they're winning like 10-3 right now or something like that, but Eloy Jimenez got taken out of the game.
That ain't good.
But I can't find any news about it. Like, I'm searching Twitter right now.
How much are they up? 10-3.
They're up a bit. It's definitely
that could be part of it then.
Yeah, 10-3 over the Indians. But dude, they haven't taken anybody else out. Oh, it was a pinch runner. But dude, that means like he could have like pulled a hamstring or something. I'm trying to find anything about it because like that actually freaks me out. I've got him on both my teams this year that really freaks me out.
All right, who we got for pitchers?
Yeah, I got nothing right now. I guess they just took him out. Who knows? All right. Yeah, so pitchers here. Actually, not a lot of pitchers. Shockingly, knock on wood. Hopefully it stays that way. But big one is Luke Weaver. Man, guy was having an incredible bounce back season. Now he's got a forearm strain, and that's never good news. Like, that just screams Tommy John. He's out indefinitely, which just makes it even worse. Jordan Lyles, Pittsburgh pitcher who's having a great year too, kind of under the radar. He's got a hamstring injury. He expects to start this Sunday though, so we'll see how that goes. And then Michael Pineda, once again back on the IL. He wasn't even having a very good year. Over a 5 ERA, I believe.
Yeah. He had a couple of good games.
Yeah, it was decent early on, and then it went downhill big time. But, knee tendonitis, and it's the same knee that he had the meniscus surgery on. So, I mean, if you had him in like deep leagues, I think it's probably just time to cut bait on him. Like, don't even worry about it. I don't touch this guy with a 10-foot pole. Like, it's just he's the plague. It's bad news, but.
Yeah.
I mean, bullpen update. Let's roll.
All right. So I don't know if it was tweeted out yet or not from yesterday, but I went through and did a massive overhaul to the closer chart yesterday. Lots of updates, mostly notes updates with a couple of new names and everything. The biggest news that we have really this week is that Michael Givens has been removed from the, I guess, top of the hammered wingmen closing situation in Baltimore, that it's pretty much been all year long. Cheers, Baltimore. Sean Armstrong got a save, converted a save in his first opportunity on Tuesday. So right now he's at the top of our committee along with Paul Fry. Brandon Klein is another name that's jumping in there. I put Miguel Castro back in as a handcuff. I wouldn't go after Castro. I really wouldn't go after anybody in this bullpen. Honestly, it's one that I'm definitely staying away from for right now. The Cubbies, Brad Brock, former Oriole, shocker, is not pitching well. So maybe he's still got his heart in Baltimore. I don't know. But he was one of our potential setup guys within the hammered wingmen in Chicago. Obviously, Pedro Strop is on the IL. Brandon Morrow is still on the IL, but Strop could return as early as tomorrow, possibly Saturday. So we put Chatwood in at the setup role, next man up role. He notched a save earlier this week, and we took Brock off, but that'll probably be updated again once Strop comes back. A very interesting note that I had on here for 3 teams. Both of our Ohio teams, the Cincinnati Reds and Cleveland Indians, kind of have a similar thing going on where the Reds have gone 6-4 in their last 10 games. This was leading into yesterday, but only 2 of those wins came by a score of 3 runs or less. So there really just hasn't been saves and or holds chances for the Reds. Cleveland is pretty much facing the same thing, but I labeled it as an Ohio thing because of that. They only have 2 saves in their last 10 games, but they're on the opposite end of the spectrum with 3-7 overall record in those 10 games. So kind of interesting there. And then the third team was the Dodgers, who've just been absolutely demolishing every team that they faced in the last 10 games, going 7-3, and they only have 1 save in those last 10 games. So Julio Urias is back for the Dodgers. He's been reinstated. Somewhat older news at this point, honestly, but he's had a couple outings, been kind of up and down in those. Colorado Rockies, we had already mentioned that Wade Davis went on the IL. I believe we talked about him last week. So
Yes.
Chad Bettis came in and got his first career save on Tuesday, but mostly because of extra runs being scored and him just staying in the game. Houston, I had listed down here because Ryan Presley's 40 consecutive appearances without allowing a run ended about a week ago. But since that run he gave up, he's back to a scoreless streak in 3.1 innings. So he's a really good sneaky pickup if he's not owned, to get you holds and points. He's going to pitch, multiple games every week. So he's somebody to look at if you are in a league that counts holds as points, or a saves holds league, and you're looking for someone else there. Other than that, a couple of teams are still status quo. Pittsburgh, New York Yankees, not much going on there. Philly is back to a hammered wingman status with Neris and Sir Anthony Dominguez. Pat Neshek was officially diagnosed with rotator cuff inflammation. There's no timeline on his return. May not return this season, but hopefully he will. So Adam Morgan and Edgar Garcia are 2 guys that have been getting some holds in his place. I took Neshek and David Robertson just off of this list altogether. There's no point in keeping them on at this point. That's pretty much it. Texas, probably the last one worth mentioning here. Sean Kelly is back from the IR, but he also took a loss and a blown save last weekend.
Yeah, he's not pitching well, but
yeah, he still seems to have a hold on the 9th inning right now. But Jose Leclerc is their long-term situation there.
Did they use him as the opener?
They
yesterday,
did.
I think.
They did yesterday.
Before?
Yeah, that's why I
saw that. I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's been the opener, and I can't remember the other guy that they had do it as well. Ariel Judah or something.
Yeah, I can't pronounce his last name.
I forget, but both of them were used as openers a week and a half ago. But yeah, Leclerc started as the opener again yesterday. So as long as they're going to keep putting him in as the opener, I don't know when the heck they're going to put him back as a closer. But that's still that hammered wingman status as well, with Kelly and Chris Martin potentially getting some vulture saves in there. So that's pretty much it for the bullpen updates.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Yeah, a lot going on there. I'm running away from Baltimore. Don't even chase that situation, guys. All right, waiver wire ads. Let's finish this up here. So I'm going to start off with Malix Smith. He's the highest owned of anybody we're going to talk about here, but he's still only about 41% owned. Dude, this guy's come up and he's hit very well since he's come up. And he had a crazy 4-steal game over the weekend where he actually stole home. So like this guy, like I think he's like 4th or 5th in stolen bases right now, and he got sent down for like a month. That's pretty nuts when you think about it. Or for like at least 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks almost.
He was down for a while.
Yeah, he was down. What I'm looking at the game log now. So his last game was April 28th, and then he came back on May 16th. So yeah, I mean, you're talking a good almost 3 weeks there that he was sent down, and he still is ranked high in stolen bases. Like, you're not picking this guy for power. You're picking him up for runs and stolen bases, and that's it. That's pretty much it. I mean, like, maybe moderate batting average, but definitely solid guy to pick up as a especially in like a 4 or 5 outfielder league. You're looking at him there. The guy that we did mention earlier in the shortstop replacement, Scott Kingery, and I think AJ, you can obviously agree to this one, Mr. Philly.
Yeah, Kingery is
playing well.
He's back at it, man.
And he's got opportunity now because, Herrera did something stupid, so we won't get into it. We all know how we feel about those. But Scott Kingery is getting a big opportunity there. Going to play a bunch of outfield now, it sounds like, because of this. So, but he's got the eligibility everywhere, so big time. And he's was playing well before he got hurt. And he's seems to be playing well again now that he's back at it. The pitcher I want to talk about, who is somebody who I don't truly trust, but I think if you're just looking for somebody to stream for a little bit and maybe ride the hot hand, and that's Danny Duffy. If you look at the overall season stats, they're not great, right? They're upwards of my Fangraphs page is loading super slow right now. But his ERA, he's had a couple blow up games, but like other than that, been all right. ERA just above 3. People probably don't really pay much attention to him because the strikeouts really aren't there this year. Only 7 per 9. But over the last couple weeks, he's been pretty dominant. So he's definitely a streaming option, a guy that, you hope just kind of puts it together. He had that season a couple years ago, I feel like it was, that was just really, or was that even just last year, that it was really good, and then he
2 seasons ago.
Yeah. 2
seasons. He was still fairly decent last year, but he definitely got hurt last year too.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a guy that you've seen it before from him, and so you can hope that it comes back, and he's free right now, basically in a bunch of leagues. And a couple of guys who, like, I'm just not really sure why they're not 100% owned at this point. Lucas Giolito, we've mentioned him before. He's still only 77% owned. Brandon Woodruff, he had a miserable first couple weeks of the season, but since then he's been arguably one of the better pitchers in the league. He's still only 76% owned. These guys are out there in your leagues for some reason. You probably need to find a way to get them on your team. I guess the only reason why I can think they're not owned is that it's like a 6-team league, and you're just stacked everywhere, and you have nowhere to put guys like this. But Lucas Giolito is making me look real stupid. I made fun of one of my dynasty co-owners who likes to talk some trash, and made a pretty, what I thought was very lopsided trade. I think he traded like JD Martinez and somebody else good for like Lucas Giolito and like somebody else average. And I was like, what in the hell? Well, Lucas Giolito has blown up since that. He's like, ha ha ha, I told you. I'm like, okay. So, anyway,
I read all the stats.
I know,
Suck
right?
it.
I was just, yeah. So I hope he listens to this, because I'm sure I'll hear from it.
Yeah.
So got a couple prospects here who I'm not really sure. There's, in my opinion, and maybe AJ, you can tell me if you think I'm wrong on this, but they're, in my opinion, deep league, obviously dynasty league guys, but deep league only for this year. And it's Kevin Biggio and Michael Yastrzemski. Both, sons of very good previous Major League Baseball players. So they've got the pedigree behind them. Both have, Keith wrote down a stat here, and I actually think Yastrzemski had a hit today, so it kind of knocked that one down. But they both have 3 hits, and they all came in one single game. Now they kind of got knocked out because Yastrzemski's today, but so they both have had like one big game, and that's about it. I don't know. Do you see any worth for these guys in like a standard 12, maybe 14-team league, for redraft leagues?
I think both of them are definitely deeper. Biggio, I feel like, has a better chance to make an impact right now, just because he's got some quality talent, young talent around him as well. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on these guys, but I'm not necessarily running out to grab them just yet. And another son of a baseball dad is Daz Cameron. He's still in the minors right now though, but he's slashing 296, 412 and 481 through his first 27 at bats, or he was. That's old news. So
all right.
Sorry, I just brought that up. But Daz Cameron was a guy that I was tracking in my dynasty league. So
okay.
That's why. But it's another name you could see up maybe late this year. We've had a couple other guys that have just come up recently too. Mitch Keller for Pittsburgh got absolutely blown out earlier this week. Can't think of the other one. Kevin Cron was another guy that got the call. And he hasn't really done much yet either. So, again, these guys are definitely deeper league options. Put a flyer on them, put your little flag for watching them, and see what happens.
Right.
If they start hitting the ball, then try to jump on them before someone else does. But otherwise, nothing too interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you though. Biggio is the one that I like the most.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be going crazy over him in a redraft league. But I think also position eligibility does a lot for him. Outfielders, you can find a bunch of guys that are probably going to be the same, if not better than Yastrzemski. Man, it's hard to get his last name out. Anyway,
Yes.
I know. It's just blech. Anyway. All right, man. Well, that's all we got. We'll be back next week for another show. And getting closer to football season, everybody. So be looking out for those.
Yep.
Right.
Last but not least, I'll leave it with Ariel Jurado. He is the opener for tomorrow's game. So
nice. All right.
There you go, Texas.
Finally pulled that one out.
Cheers.
All right. See y'all later.